Welcome to the deep dive. You know anatomy is tough, right?
Yeah, it's infamous for a reason.
But we're diving deep today into how, not just to survive it, but really how to make it a subject you look forward to learning.
Exactly. We're talking about ditching the fear and finding that passion for anatomical knowledge.
And we've got a ton of resources to help us out. Articles, study guides, even some insights from the world of AI.
All geared towards making your anatomy journey not just bearable, but actually enjoyable.
So if you're ready to unlock the secrets of the human body, hit that like button and subscribe to the Deep Dive channel for more deep dives just like this one.
All right, so first things first, let's talk about anatomy anxiety.
Oh yeah, it's real.
It's practically a rite of passage for med students. You open that massive textbook,
See endless diagrams.
and suddenly coffee sounds way more appealing than the cardiovascular system, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to learning anatomy.
Exactly. We're all unique learners.
So ditch those outdated methods that feel like you're stuck in the medical Stone Age.
It's like trying to diagnose a patient with a stethoscope from the 1800s.
Okay, so let's talk upgrades. What are some of the most effective and maybe even fun anatomy learning techniques out there?
Well, I've heard a lot about active recall and memory palaces.
Me too. Are those actually helpful or are they just fancy buzzwords?
They're incredibly helpful. When used correctly, active recall is basically quizzing yourself without peeking at your notes.
So instead of just passively reading about muscle attachments, I'm actively trying to recall them from memory.
Precisely. And that process of retrieving information actually strengthens those neural connections, making it stick.
Makes sense. And what about those memory palaces? It sounds a bit like Sherlock Holmes, with his mind palace.
It's surprisingly effective. The idea is to associate information with familiar locations. Like imagine linking different body systems to rooms in your house.
So the skeletal system could be in the living room, the digestive system in the kitchen.
Exactly. The weirder and more memorable those associations are, the better.
I love it. And speaking of memorable, what about mnemonics?
Ah, yes. Those catchy rhymes and acronyms that somehow embed themselves in your long-term memory.
But can AI actually help me create mnemonics? Because I'm not exactly a poet.
That's the beauty of AI. Imagine struggling to remember the carpal bones. You could ask an AI, hey, invent a silly sentence to help me memorize those carpal bones. And boom, it comes up with something like, Sally left the party to take Charlie home.
See, now I'm never going to forget the carpal bones.
Exactly. AI takes the pressure off of being creative and lets you focus on the information itself.
So we've got active recall memory palaces and mnemonics. What other weapons are in our anatomy slaying arsenal?
We've got a whole range of tools from anatomy labeling worksheets and muscle anatomy reference charts to coloring books, study groups, mind maps.
Whoa, hold on. Slow down. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of anatomy learning tools.
It is. And don't forget about anatomy games and even 3D anatomy tools.
Okay, I'm starting to feel overwhelmed again.
Don't worry. The key is to find what works best for you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about AI. We've got to talk about its role in all of this.
Oh, absolutely. AI is poised to revolutionize anatomy learning.
But is it really all it's cracked up to be?
Think of AI as a super smart study buddy, available 24/7.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So let's say I'm reading about the nervous system, and I hit a paragraph that just makes my brain melt.
Happens to the best of us.
It's like suddenly switching from English to ancient Greek.
With AI tools like ChatGPT, you can simply ask it to rephrase that confusing paragraph in simpler terms. It can even explain it to you like you're 5 if you need it.
That is impressive. But what about those questions that textbooks never seem to address?
You know those ones that keep you up at night?
Exactly. Like, why are the right and left lungs structured differently?
Or why are the recurrent laryngeal nerves so long and loopy?
See, those are the questions that really make you think.
And AI, like ChatGPT, can offer some really insightful answers. It can connect anatomical differences to developmental and evolutionary reasons.
Whoa, and that's what I call a deep dive.
Exactly. AI can help you understand not just the what, but the why.
But let's be real. Sometimes just keeping up with lecture notes is a Herculean task.
Absolutely. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Is there an AI tool that can help us make sense of all that information?
There is. It's called Notebook LM. It's a new tool from Google that can summarize your notes, highlight key details.
And even make connections between different concepts.
Exactly. It's like having an AI note taker that actually helps you understand the material.
Okay, sign me up. But what about memorizing all those bones, muscles, and nerves? Can AI help with that too?
You bet. AI can be surprisingly good at generating memory aids. Imagine you're struggling to remember the difference between the radius and the ulna.
Oh, I hate those two.
AI can create a catchy mnemonic or even a little story that helps you visualize their positions in the forearm.
So AI can turn my messy notes into a Cliff's Notes version and then help me memorize everything with catchy rhymes and stories.
Pretty much. AI can create personalized study materials just for you. Need flashcards for a specific topic? AI can generate them pulling information from your notes or other resources?
So if I can dream it, AI can create it.
Basically. But hold on. We need to talk about the limitations of using AI for anatomy.
Right, because there's got to be a catch.
AI isn't perfect. It can sometimes provide inaccurate or misleading information, especially if it's pulling from unreliable sources.
So we can't just blindly trust everything it tells us.
Exactly. We still need to think critically and double-check the information AI gives us.
And we can't forget about human experts.
Absolutely. AI is a fantastic tool for supplemental learning, but it's not a replacement for professors' teaching assistants.
Or those giant anatomy textbooks.
Right. Those still have a place in the AI-powered world of learning. It's all about finding that balance.
So it's not AI versus textbooks, it's AI and textbooks working together.
Precisely.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But how exactly do we integrate AI with those expert sources? I'm picturing myself with my textbook open on one side and ChatGPT open on the other, frantically trying to make connections.
Well, it doesn't have to be that frantic. Think of AI as a study companion that can offer different perspectives.
Like a study buddy who can explain things in a way that finally makes sense.
Exactly. AI can help you understand your textbook better, and it can also help you remember what you've learned through mnemonics and stories.
So it's about using AI to enhance the learning process, not replace it.
Precisely.
This is fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
But we've only just scratched the surface of how AI can revolutionize anatomy learning.
There's so much more to explore.
I'm ready. Are you?
Let's do it. Welcome back to the deep dive. We just started exploring the awesome world of anatomy learning techniques and AI.
I'm already feeling more optimistic about tackling this subject.
That's the spirit. But let's get even more practical. What are some concrete ways we can use AI to really level up our anatomy game?
Now you're talking. My brain is ready for some actionable advice.
Okay, so remember that KenHub guide we talked about? They've got tons of proven study tips like active recall, spaced repetition, even mind maps.
Yeah, I remember. But how does AI fit into all of this?
Imagine supercharging those techniques with the power of AI.
Okay, now that sounds intriguing. Give me an example.
Let's start with active recall. It's a great way to learn, but sometimes making flashcards and quizzing yourself can feel a bit tedious.
Oh, absolutely. I spend way too much time writing out flashcards.
What if AI could create those flashcards for you?
Wait, really?
Yeah, just tell the AI what topics you need to review and boom, instant study deck.
So if I'm struggling with cranial nerves, I could say, hey, AI, create flashcards on the functions of cranial nerves, and it would just make them...
Exactly. And it can even pull questions from your lecture notes, creating a totally personalized review experience.
That's way more efficient than my current system. What about spaced repetition? I'm terrible at sticking to a schedule.
No worries. AI can be your study coach. It can analyze your study habits and suggest the optimal spaced repetition schedule.
You mean it can tell me when to review those cranial nerve flashcards so I don't forget everything?
Exactly. It's like having a personal assistant for your brain, making sure you're reviewing information at just the right time.
Okay, I need this in my life, like yesterday.
Eh.
But what about memory in general? Any AI hacks for that?
Well, the KenHub guide mentions this 40-second trick where you visualize and describe what you want to remember.
Yeah, I remember that. But I'm not sure how AI can help with that.
Imagine combining that visualization technique with AI. So you spend 40 seconds picturing the brachial plexus, then you ask your AI companion, hey, can you come up with a funny story to help me remember all the branches?
Wait, so I could have an AI-generated memory palace with a built-in comedy routine.
Exactly. The more ridiculous, the better. It helps those nerves stick in your memory.
I am loving this.
Hey.
But what about those massive anatomy textbooks? Reading them sometimes feels like I'm wading through mud.
Remember how we talked about AI's ability to rephrase and reorder information? That can be a lifesaver for those dense passages. Instead of getting bogged down, just ask AI to break things down into simpler language, or even translate it into a metaphor that clicks for you.
So instead of just reading about the structure of the heart, I could ask AI to explain it like it's a house or something.
Exactly, or a car engine, or a city, whatever works for you. The point is to make it relatable.
Okay, that makes sense. But understanding is one thing. How do we actually retain all this information?
Well, have you ever tried mind mapping? It's a great way to visually organize information, but making them by hand can be a real pain.
Oh, tell me about it. My mind maps usually end up looking like a 5-year-old's art project.
That's where AI comes in. You just feed it the key concepts and terms, and it will generate a beautiful, structured mind map that highlights all the connections.
So it's like having an AI artist create a visual representation of my thoughts.
Precisely. And these mind maps can be interactive, too. You can zoom in on specific areas, add your own notes, even link to external resources.
That is amazing.
Mm.
Okay, but how do we go beyond just memorizing facts and start seeing the bigger picture?
That's where AI's ability to answer those off-the-beaten-path questions really shines. Let's say you're studying the muscles of the back and you come across the latissimus dorsi.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Big, powerful muscle responsible for those lats that weightlifters are always working on.
Exactly. You could ask AI, how does the latissimus dorsi connect to the shoulder joint, and how does that affect movement?
Interesting. It's like it's forcing me to think beyond just rote memorization.
Exactly. AI helps you uncover those functional relationships, which is crucial for applying your knowledge in real-world scenarios.
Okay, but we can't forget about making anatomy fun. The KenHub guide talked about using games and coloring books.
And AI can take those to the next level.
Hold up. I was actually kind of skeptical about the coloring book thing. It seemed a bit too elementary school.
Well, coloring can actually improve memory and focus. But instead of generic coloring pages, imagine using AI to generate personalized ones.
So I could say create a coloring page that highlights the branches of the facial nerve and have my own custom anatomy coloring book.
Precisely. It's all about finding what works for you, and for some people that might mean tapping into their inner child and getting creative with colors.
I like it. And what about those 3D anatomy models we talked about earlier?
Oh, those are amazing. Some platforms offer interactive quizzes and games where you can test your knowledge in a virtual environment.
So instead of just passively looking at a 3D heart, I can actually try to identify its parts and functions.
Exactly. It's a much more engaging way to learn than just staring at a textbook diagram.
I'm convinced we need to make anatomy fun again.
Absolutely. Learning should be an adventure, not a chore. And AI can help us turn even the most challenging anatomy topics into something we're excited to explore.
This is all so inspiring. But even with all these amazing tools at our disposal, there's one big challenge that many med students face: stress and anxiety.
Oh, I know those anatomy exams can be super stressful.
It's like this constant pressure cooker. The sheer volume of information, the fear of failing, the knowledge that our grades can impact our entire future careers. It's a lot.
It really is. But the good news is there are ways to manage that stress and prevent it from hijacking your learning.
Okay, please tell me more, because my cortisol levels are probably through the roof just thinking about my next anatomy exam. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring how AI can revolutionize anatomy learning, from supercharging study techniques to making those dense textbooks a little less scary.
We even uncovered the power of AI to create stories and coloring pages to make learning more fun and engaging.
But let's be honest, anatomy exams can be a major source of stress for med students.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this constant pressure cooker,
Yeah.
right? The sheer volume of information, the fear of those high-stakes exams, and knowing that our anatomy grades can impact our future careers.
It's definitely a lot to handle. And sometimes that stress feels so overwhelming that it's hard to even focus on studying, let alone remember all those tiny anatomical details.
I hear you. Stress and anxiety can really sabotage our learning.
It's like when you're in the middle of an exam trying to remember the branches of the brachial plexus and your mind just goes blank. All that carefully prepared knowledge just vanishes.
It's like our brain hits the panic button and forgets everything. Stress triggers that fight or flight response, which is great for escaping danger, but not so helpful when you're trying to remember the attachments of the gluteus maximus.
So how do we stop stress from taking over our anatomy learning? Because let's be real, med school is inherently stressful. We can't just wish it away.
That's true, but we can learn to manage that stress and prevent it from sabotaging our efforts. And guess what? AI can actually help us do that.
Okay, I'm all ears because my cortisol levels are probably through the roof just thinking about my next anatomy exam.
Well, first things first, remember that procrastination is often fueled by anxiety. We put things off because we're afraid of failing, of not being good enough.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that. It's like my brain's way of protecting me from the thought of there's no way I can possibly learn all of this.
But remember how we talked about AI helping us break down those massive study tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks?
Right. And when you start seeing progress, even small wins, it can really boost your confidence and reduce those feelings of overwhelm.
Exactly. And another stress-busting tip is to schedule in some me time before you even start studying.
Okay, that sounds nice in theory, but honestly, sometimes even the thought of opening my anatomy textbook makes me want to crawl under my desk and hide.
Well, that's where those fun AI-powered study tools come in. Remember those games, those personalized coloring pages, those captivating anatomical
Oh
stories?
yeah, those definitely sound way more appealing than staring at a textbook for hours.
Exactly. When you actually enjoy the learning process, it takes some of the pressure off, and that can make a huge difference in terms of reducing stress.
So we've talked about managing procrastination and making studying more fun. But what about those moments when the stress starts to creep in during an actual exam? Because let's be real, no amount of pre-exam meditation can fully prepare you for that adrenaline rush.
That's true, but there are some really cool AI-powered tools that can help us stay calm and focused even in those high-pressure situations.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Imagine wearing a smartwatch that monitors your heart rate and skin conductance, basically detecting when you're starting to freak out.
Hold on. A stress-detecting smartwatch. That sounds like something straight out of sci-fi movie.
It's closer than you think. Some companies are already developing these AI-powered wearables that provide real-time biofeedback. They can sense those physiological signs of stress and then guide you through calming exercises.
So it's like having a personal stress management coach right there on your wrist whispering, breathe, you got this.
Exactly. And as AI technology continues to evolve, I think we'll see even more innovative tools to help us navigate the unique challenges of med school.
That's reassuring. But what about those deeper anxieties that go beyond just the academic pressures of med school? The fears about whether we're actually cut out for this profession, whether we'll be good doctors, whether we'll make a difference in the world.
Those are big questions, and ones that every med student grapples with at some point. While AI can't give us all the answers, it can definitely play a role in supporting our mental well-being.
Okay, I'm really interested in this. How could AI support our mental health?
Imagine having an AI-powered mentor, someone who could listen to your fears and doubts without judgment, offer personalized advice, and connect you with helpful resources.
That would be incredible, especially for students who might not feel comfortable talking to a human advisor or who are just struggling with feeling isolated. It's like having a compassionate and supportive friend who's always available.
Exactly. AI can provide that safe and accessible space to explore those deeper anxieties. And as AI technology keeps advancing, we'll see even more amazing applications in mental health support for medical professionals.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into anatomy and AI, what's the main message for our listeners?
I think the most important takeaway is this anatomy doesn't have to be something you dread. With the right tools and mindset, it can be an exciting journey of discovery. And AI can be an incredible companion on that journey.
Absolutely. It can help us learn more effectively, manage our stress, and even explore those big existential questions that come with the territory of becoming a doctor.
It's all about embracing these new technologies and using them to empower ourselves as learners and future healthcare professionals.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of the Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.
Be sure to like and subscribe to the Deep Dive channel and share this episode with your fellow anatomy enthusiasts.
And most importantly, keep exploring. The future of anatomy learning is bright, and we're excited to be a part of this amazing journey of discovery.
Thanks for listening to the Deep Dive podcast.